Hello and welcome back to another episode of Dreams, Dollar, and Destiny. I'm your host, Portia, along with my colleagues, Queen Bee, Malinda, and also Nick. We're here to bring you another great episode. This time, the topic is celebrity psyops. And, how deep does this go as far as our government and celebrities, and how do they work hand in hand together to get these messages out to the public, right? What we call propaganda, these messages to get you on board onto things that you probably never would have considered. And there's a lot of different manipulation that happens here. Maybe subtle manipulation through your favorite celebrity, but just watch out for that. As a matter of fact, we're going to jump into this quick video and then get into the show. See here. You can see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
Make sure you can hear the video. And
Give me 1 second. There
Honestly,
we go.
I think we should just trust our president in every decision he makes, and we should just support that, and be faithful in what happens.
Do you trust this president?
Yes, I do. Honestly, I think we should just trust our president in every decision that he makes, and we should just support that, and be faithful in what happens.
Do you trust this president?
Yes, I do.
So, just judging by that video, how many young girls supported the war in Iraq, right? I mean, as you can see, Britney Spears, obviously, she was manipulated into saying to support the president, and she wholeheartedly trusts this president. What has George Bush done for her that she wholeheartedly trusts this man, right? And given the fact her age and the influence she has on such young minds, she was the perfect psyop for that message. And Britney Spears, of course, is just not, she's not the first celebrity. And she's not the last to be used by the government to manipulate the masses into thinking country first, right? Even if it means putting yourself in harm's way, because remember, a lot of this propaganda is towards war, right? They want you to sign your kids up to be boots on the ground for wars that they have no business fighting in the first place. And so we really need to be mindful of these celebrity psyops. And we're glad to bring this information out because we're trying to make the public more aware of what's going on and the slippery slope that we're going down with this new administration, and how celebrities seemingly out of nowhere have done a 180 as far as their opinion on this person. Now, we've had celebrities in the past, back when this administration was first in office, that were totally against, the regime as far as Donald Trump and what he was doing. You had Snoop, you had Ice Cube, you had a lot of different celebrities speaking out against Donald Trump. Bill Maher, right, who was worrying about him not wanting to leave office, which came to pass. And now these same celebrities in 2026 are singing a different tune. They're in support of Trump, right? In what he's doing. They're not criticizing his missions anymore, even though they have become even more egregious. So that's what we're starting the conversation off with. I'm going to hand the proverbial mic over to my colleagues so they can begin to speak on this.
Go ahead, Queen. You got it first.
Okay. Peace, and love, everybody out there in the Dreams, Dollars, and Destiny world. We're so happy to bring you this episode too with the celebrity psyops. And this is a topic that's really, after my own heart, because I feel like the majority of the celebrities are all psyops. I feel like not even just celebrities, it even goes so deep as some of the members in the cabinet with the president. Because if we think about this presidency that we're in now, this administration, the vice president and the president didn't even like each other before this, right? Vice President Vance had a lot of negative things to say about the president. And then when President Trump asked him to be the vice president, it was like, oh, we're best friends now and we're all on the same page. So I think what happens a lot is we let the middle of our podcast titled Dollars, I think we let the dollars get in the way of our real values, right? So I think that's a problem, right? Anyone can be paid off to go against what their real values are to push an agenda. And that's really what a PSYOP is, someone that's being paid off to push a certain agenda. And when we look around in America, that's pretty much everything that we deal with in like the whole Hollywood is a psyop, right? And then you get these different people like Nicki Minaj, who, some said that she went in favor of the administration so she could keep her green card here, so she could stay in the States because she's not a foundational Black American. So she did that to stay in the States. So there's different people who will do different things for different motives. And that's why it's important to really know who you're dealing with and really understand that a lot of this stuff that you guys see is a circus to get you to sway a certain way. And this has been going on, guys, since the Roman Empire. So, this has been going on since then, and it's been brought into modern times. So that's really what I wanted to add on. I'm sure Nick has a lot more to add on to that. But yeah, it goes very deep. So you got to watch who you're following and watch who you're giving your blind support for. Got to know who you're supporting.
Yep, indeed, indeed. And peace to everybody out there. Glad to be here. Glad to be back for this very important conversation on celebrity psyops. And we're opening up with the lens, the political lens of this celebrity psyops. However, these psyops occur in various areas of human activity. When you look at the beefs between celebrities, that's a psyop. When you look at the scandals, the relationship drama between celebrities, it's those are psyops as well. And why does all this matter? Why does this conversation matter? Of course, yes, these psyops are designed to get you all to buy into a certain or subscribe to a certain narrative and a certain way of thinking. But also going back to the premise of the show, which we shared with you back in episode 1, it's that fourth unwritten D, the distraction. These psyops are in place to form a distraction to get you off track of your dreams, dollars, and destiny and your purpose. And when they take you off track, that slippery slope that Porcha mentioned, you get into these arguments, you start taking sides on a lot of these psyops and these issues, and that becomes a distraction. That becomes a waste of energy. So that's what we're going to be bringing in this episode, in this conversation. We're going to talk about what these psyops look like, where they originated historically, and how we should act so we don't allow them to take us off our path towards our dreams, dollars, and destiny.
Yep, that's right. And we threw away. I mean, we thrown around the term psyops, but a lot of people don't know what that means. And so I'm just going to break it down for folks who don't know what a psyop is. I know it sounds like one word, but it's actually two. It actually is psychological operation. What does that mean? That means that they are basically playing in your face, right? And gaslighting people on purpose, manipulating you through maybe propaganda. It's also called social engineering, right? There's a blueprint to this, right? Because think about this, why every rebellious artist eventually ends up partnering with some type of mega bank or some type of government backed initiative, right? And you're thinking to yourself, like, I thought this artist was a rebel, but now he's selling Ciroc vodka or, something of that nature. And then think about the products that they're pushing, especially our African American celebrities, right? A lot of them were pushing alcohol on our people, right? And a lot of people were buying this because of celebrity backing, right? So we need to discuss this access pipeline, because if you think about it, it seems to me if you want to reach the top of that celebrity A-list, then you don't just need talent, you need clearance, right? You need to be safe for those corporations to endorse you, meaning that you have to be on their side. And then you have to be able to have enough popularity for them to use you to manipulate the masses. So when a celebrity tells you to stay home like they did back in 2020, or spend more or trust the system, well, actually they're just speaking from a higher price, right? Because they got paid to do that. And so this also, like Nick and Malinda said, goes back to ancient times. We're talking about Roman times when they had what was called the bread and circuses. So this kept the public from noticing that the economy was crumbling, right? And so what they would do is use distraction as a weapon against the public. So while they were distracting you with the left hand, the right hand was over here doing something. And does this not remind you of what's currently going on? Because every time a major legislative bill is passed that strips away your privacy, where they're over here doing something else, where they're quietly passing those bills. As a matter of fact, while they were bombing Iran, this last month or so, did you know that a lot of government funding and programs got cut or completely eliminated? And I mean housing programs, I mean programs for food, programs to help the elderly, educational programs, all that was wiped while everybody was paying attention to what they were doing in Iran. So this same thing is still going on today. And so they'll sell you a dream, right? But the reality is a nightmare. And that's what we're talking about here. And these are things that keep us off our destiny because, again, this is social engineering.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the way you just broke that down, Queen. And what I want to do now is I just want to add a little bit of more insight to the breakdown that you just did on PSYOP. So when we look at PSYOP in the Chaldean system of numerology, that is going to be expressing a number 9, and the soul urge of that is a 7. So that tells me that's a spiritual thing that they're trying to do on humanity, because 9 is that number of brotherhood, right? That's the number of brotherhood. It's the number of the universe. They call 9 little universe. So that 9, is the most powerful number. So when I adding up to that 9, that's letting me know that this is an attack that they're using on humanity
A
to
universal attack.
disrupt, yep, to disrupt the brotherhood of humanity, and to cause us to have confrontations with one another, to cause us to be impatient with one another, to cause us to fight one another and be, use terroristic things against one another based on this psyop that they're putting out in front of us. Also, then you double down with that 7, that's letting us know that this is a spiritual operation. So they're not just coming at us for our mental standpoint, they're coming at our soul, you guys. This is a spiritual attack on our soul. And it's a spiritual attack for them to do things, to dig deep in their bag to get us spiritually out of alignment and out of alignment with each other. So that breakdown alone should let us know that this is something that they're using in a sinister way, and they're using to really attack the people and to decrease the unity in a community. Okay, and that's what the psyop is meant to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look at the vehicle that they choose for the psyop. They use the media. The media has that influence over the masses. Have y'all ever heard that quote or that phrase that the media is the fourth branch of the government or something like that? I mean, I would also say it's a branch of the military as well, since the psyop is an attack. It's an act of warfare, both psychological and spiritual warfare. Just to add on to what you said there, Queen B.
Yeah, and also, to add on to that is the fact that you can look at the celebrities that don't follow the program. Those are the ones that are supposed to be crazy. Cat Williams, remember he was crazy. They said that he was flipping out. They were trying to get him to go to jail. All kinds of things. He's in and out of court a lot. During that time when he didn't follow the program. When Dave Chappelle left that $50 million on the table. Oh, he crazy. Oh, he didn't flew to Africa. Oh, this he didn't flip this wig, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
Right?
he's smoking crack. Yeah, all the stuff they said
Exactly,
about him.
exactly. So you can clearly see when these celebrities don't go with the agenda, what happens to them. So a lot of them are coerced into these roles that they're forced to be in. And it's unfortunate, but that's the price of fame. Right. And so are you going to be that person to sell your soul for that fame? Or are you going to be one of righteousness and say, you know what? I don't need the fame, right? Like Lauren Hill, right? Lauren Hill on top of her game, 5 Grammys in her hand that night. When they wanted her to do some fugazi stuff, she was like, I'm out of here, right? Because she had integrity. But a lot of our celebrities don't have that. And that's what they're all people like everyone else. And so money is a powerful drug right now. Forget cocaine, right? Money is a powerful drug, right? And when you're coerced with millions of dollars and fame and all the women you can have and all this other stuff, what are you going to take? Right? Which option are you going to take?
Yeah. And another point to that, Portia, is, some of these celebrities, like you said, they don't want to go back to the poor lifestyle, right? They don't want to go back to that lifestyle. So this is where they get them basically in this rock, between a rock and a hard place, where it's like, okay, well, you've gotten this little bit of fame, you've gotten a taste of it. Now we need you to do this. But if you don't do this, we're going to take all this away from you and we're going to smear your name in the media. So,
Mhm.
of course, most people who don't want to go back to that level of living are going to kind of go along with the program. And I think that's really an issue in our society. It's a huge issue. And I think even more so, they do this more so in the music entertainment business, as far as when we look at hip hop, because hip hop, I believe, has been psyoped, right? It's been the whole genre of hip
From the
hop has
jump,
been
though.
psyoped.
Yeah, from the jump.
And yep. And, and the thing is, now all of these different artists that you see coming out, that these have to be plants because they were no one before, but then overnight they have like 1 million followers. Like, well, where's their grind? Where was their come up? Where were all their little songs that they had along the way that helped them get to that 1 million viewers? And it's
Where's their
really starting to,
sponsorship at, right?
yeah, and it's really starting to be seen now because what's been happening is some of these plants that they've been putting in the music industry when they've been going to go on tour, when they go to sell the tickets, no one's buying these tickets, and the tours have been empty, like the concerts have been empty, and people have been reporting on this. So this is also another veil that's being lifted, you guys, to let you know that all these people that you see, just because they're out there doesn't mean they're real. So you got to watch who they are, how they came to be, and what message are they sending. This is where we got to get back to our dreams and our destiny, to remember what we want and stop allowing celebrities, entertainers in general, to dictate how we move and to dictate what we believe. You should be believing and knowing. I don't even like to say believe. You should be knowing. We're in the era of knowing. We're in the age of Aquarius. That's I know. So we're in the era where we're supposed to know what we want, right? And if you don't, then that's when you would come to one of us lovely astronumerologists to get to know what you might want, right? But at the end of the day, you can't be following a celebrity because you don't know who's paid them to give them that idea. You may be following something and you love them, and that's not even their idea. They just been paid to say it. So that would make me feel
Falling
like
right
a
off the
fool
cliff.
if I was doing that.
Follow the money. And not only do these celebrities lose everything if they go against the script, but there's also the blackmail aspect of it too. A lot of them put themselves in compromising positions, and it's all documented. So once they go against the program, that blackmail gets exposed. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what do I have to show for myself in terms of my dreams, dollars, and destiny after I put these celebrities on this pedestal? I put all my energy towards towards getting involved in the dialogue and the conversations, and just put my attention it giving my attention, that currency, my attention to it. What do I have to show for it? And that's the definition of idol worship. When you
Mm-hmm.
when you have an idol, whether you spell it IDOL or IDLE, where you put all your attention to these lives of these celebrities, these people that don't even know you personally, probably don't even care about you, and you have
Right.
nothing to show for it, in the end. So
Right.
that's what you need. That's what you need to think about when you find yourself getting caught up in the madness.
In the madness of it, because you have some people that really do get ingrained into that celebrity drama and living their lives. Like when somebody speaks bad about Beyonce, her Beehive members all on it, like they don't have a life, they live for her. And I'm like, what are you guys doing with yourselves? Like if she saw you on the street, she wouldn't even look at you twice. And here
Right.
you are, fighting online about something, about a comment that somebody might have said about her that was negative. And we just waste so much time and energy on the wrong things. And I know a lot of the TV programming has to do with that. Because remember, I said programming. You can see where we've gone from positive programming from Different World and the Cosby Show. Now we on Love and Hip Hop and Real Housewives of Atlanta. And trust me, none of those shows are painting us in good light, right? Those people may have money, but their behavior is deplorable. And so you have to look at that and what people are aspiring to be, because you got a lot of young kids that are looking up to be like these women, right? They want the money, they want to look like that, but they also want to keep up the drama because they think that's what you do. And so we need to turn around those stereotypes and change ourselves as far as a community because we've gone down the wrong path, especially our young women, with the images that have been propagated through the media and then also through music. And then just the female rappers that we have today and the images that they're portraying, because a lot of these girls are thinking it's all right to be out there half naked. And so that's why we're going back to these celebrity psyops because they have done such a number on our community that now we really need to wake up so we can teach the younger generations to have more respect for themselves.
Yeah. And it's up to us to reward the positivity because if we leave it to the corporations reward the ratchetness and the nigga women and all of that. That's who they pay the money to. That's who they put in the mainstream. So we can't expect now, and I wouldn't even say even try to demand that the corporations do this. We have to do it ourselves at the grassroots level and push forward the positive programming because with all of the ratchet TV and destructive music and movies and TV that's out there, you would think that there's nothing positive out, which is a lie. But unfortunately, a lot of the positive TV shows that do get out there, they're short lived. They might last for a season or they might last for a couple of episodes and they get canceled or they get removed from the big screen and go to the small screen. And then with the music, those positive artists aren't the ones that are getting pushed forward by the labels and the corporations. So it's up to us to push forward the positive media that is out there because it's out there.
It is out there, but like you're saying, I mean, if the corporations are supporting, then we don't hear it. Because I remember that went back to the '90s when Tupac was writing his album. Like, we need more gangster music on there. We don't need that much more that positive stuff because he had a lot of positive songs that were uplifting, but that's not what the record industry wanted on his album. And so it goes back to having to, I guess, acquiesce to what the industry standards are so you can make a living. But at the end of the day, you're selling your soul.
You're selling your soul and you're selling out the nation. So it's even bigger than you just selling your soul. You're selling your soul, but then you're making a line available for a line of people in the nation to also go down that path of selling their soul.
Of destruction.
Of destruction. So it's really bigger than that. And I really do, wish that the celebrities would not engage in that. But that's not something that we can control. And I'm a big believer in knower of just controlling what you can, and you control the things you can and the things you can't control, you just gotta let it go. Right. So the things we can control is what do we feed ourselves mentally, psychologically, and spiritually, right? What do we feed ourselves? This is a very important question. It's important even more for the community out there that has kids. Like if you have babies and you have kids, there's no reason on God's green earth that you should be driving around in your car with ratchet ass music playing in the background when you have kids in that car. Like I don't care if you got to put on the oldies channel, put the oldies channel on,
Even
or
when you're
just ride
pregnant, it goes starts there.
Right. So that's where it starts because this is the thing, you know, and I'm talking to the women right now because the women are the nurturers and they are the people who are normally raising a family. Even if it is a family unit there, the man normally is out being the breadwinner and working. So the mother is the one nurturing these kids. The mother is the one raising these kids. This is why I came up with Queens Up more than 10 years ago. Queens need to understand their power, their position, and their purpose. And if you understood that, then you would do better and you would raise your children better. It's one thing we're adults. If we want to enjoy some adult entertainment and some adult music, that's fine. We're adults. We can go party and we know our limits and we know things that we can handle and we can't. But to me, for you to do that to your child is straight child abuse. And you are not giving your child the best chance to grow up in a healthy environment with a healthy mindset and a healthy vision of themselves. So to me, this is where I draw the line because you got to watch what you feed yourself and you got to watch what you do around your children. That's just the bottom line. If you're going to have children, be responsible for your children and watch what you expose them to Because at the end of the day, we're the first teachers. And then I know speaking, not going to speak for Nick, but I'm going to speak up because he's a teacher. So he knows. He sees these kids coming to school with the nonsense they come to school with. That starts in the home. It's not Nick's job to parent your children. You should be parenting your children at home, and then they come to the school to get the education they need. And sure, he's a man figure that's there for them that can help them through some parently things, but it's not his total job to teach your kids values, etiquette, and all this kind of stuff. That's your job.
Yeah.
So we
Be
got to do
dedicated,
better as a
not raise your
community.
kids, right?
Yeah, we got to do better. We got to do better as a community, family,
Mhm.
because you can't be letting these celebrities raise your kids.
Indeed. And you know what? As a side note, I just added that as a future show topic. We got to talk about that family unit right there and the evolution of that. So I just put it in the notes. So that, it just gave me the idea there. But before we get to this end of this conversation, we've been talking a lot about, especially about the music industry, and we mentioned like the reality shows, but let's get back to the politics a little bit, because we also wanted to talk about the PSYOPs in the films and the movie industry, and how the movies are used as propaganda, especially for race baiting. So let's talk about that a little bit, just to get the folks out there something to look out for, that they don't get swept up into and caught up into and get taken off track from the dreams, dollars, and destiny in that way also. Because on the surface, politics and social issues and race, they're relevant, they're important topics, but when it gets to the end of race baiting, that's when it becomes problematic. Or I'm saying race baiting, but any other ism that you can think of: racism, classism, sexism, all the isms.
Yeah,
So
it's
what
all
y'all?
a propaganda, right? Because the first movie was one of the first movies, Birth of a Nation, and it painted the picture of, black people being dumb and stupid and needed to be taken control of, and that was the birth of the KKK and all that good stuff. And then there was Reefer Madness, which one of the first movies, another propaganda against black folks, saying that when we get high, black men get high, they want to go and rape white women when white women are throwing themselves at black men left and right. So it's one of those things where that shaped a mindset of a certain culture back then, to where they had this ideology of black people being dumb, ignorant, slow, right? And can be easily controlled and manipulated, and we were subhuman. So you're right. That same concept has been passed from generation to generation with movies, especially the ones that they claim are based on a true story, because that the CIA and Hollywood are in cahoots with one another when it comes to making movies and having you think a certain way. The Uish people were the ones that created Hollywood, right? And so they are they can be very subversive and covert with their methods and manipulation. And one of the things that they knew was about the subconscious mind is affected by images. And so what's the perfect thing? These movie pictures, right? Movie pictures affect the subconscious mind. And so now you can program people through images, whether they're true or not. It doesn't matter, because remember, the subconscious mind doesn't care if something's true or not, right? It can be easily programmed. It doesn't care about the truth. And so when you're looking at these images, you're actually being programmed with information, whether it's right or wrong. And there's been a lot of movies that have been out based on true stories that have not fit what the actual story had been, because they want to manipulate you into thinking that it was a certain type of way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they take advantage of the public, knowing that the public isn't going to do their research and look into these things either. They're just going to accept it. Just look at social media, look at the internet. The thing about social media is that you're not required to have any footnotes or any citations for any posts that you can put up there. You could just put put up a quote or put up some claims, put up a picture of somebody or some graphic, and people just run with it without looking into it. And it's the same thing with these movies and those based on historical or true story films too.
Well, but they've already been indoctrinated with the Bible, right? Because the Bible, to believe in the Bible, you just have to have faith, not based on anything factual. right? And so when you already have impressionable minds, right, those
Mhm.
people are already primed for that, you know. And so you layer these movies on top of that, of course, they're just going to believe because they have been taught to not look into anything, not to think critically, right? When you are of the Christian faith, they teach you not to think critically. The critical thinking is not your thing because if you thought critically, then you'd know that what they were saying was all propaganda and lies.
Mhm. Yep, yep, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it carries over to all of those areas of human activity, right? Queen B, you well,
Yeah.
how many
All
you added one of those areas too, but you know you
I
got
added
update
two.
some number. You added two. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we're up to 11 areas of activity because I did add to technology and health. And I want to kind of touch on what Portia was saying about the movies, especially that Birth of a Nation movie that you were just talking about. That was really the first movie, like you said, that came out showing Black Americans in a bad light with all the stereotypes. And what happened was when they made that movie, they didn't know that it would be that successful. When they seen how much money they could make off of Black hate, that is what started basically the movie industry, you guys. Like I did
Hmm.
a whole history on this. That's what started the movie industry. And then what happened was, just like we know, polarity is one of the universal laws. So there's always an opposite, right? So when that came out, we had a brother named Oscar Michaud who basically came out to combat that. So just like Portia was saying, for every negative thing that they have, there's always an equal positive that we can look to. It's up to us to look for that equal positive and embrace it and not to embrace that negativity, right? But again, this is what really started them with understanding that they could really control the masses with the movies based on that first movie that you were just talking about because it had all of the stereotypical hate in it and it made it like for its time frame it made like millions of dollars, right? So they
Hmm.
were like, oh, we can get away with doing this. And then after that, that's when you started to see Hollywood always casting us as like the help or in some type of stereotypical role. That was the start of that. And that's why again that other brother came out with his own movie company, and that actually blew up in our community because it was the first time that we got to see ourselves in a good light on the screen. So what ended up happening was they tried to come now buy this brother out because he was making all this money. He didn't need them and he was doing it on his own and he was hiring Black actors. And they were only allowed to play the movies in like churches and like libraries in our community, like local things in our community. They wouldn't play them in the big theater and all that. We weren't allowed to be played there. So it really took off because we want to see ourselves in a good light. Like we are a great community of people, a great nation of people who are great people, and we want to see ourselves in a good light. But I do think the nature of what we've been exposed to, in this society over these 530 some odd years has really beaten a lot of us down, and it's really made us really look less of ourselves for some of us. And some of us are stuck there and we don't have the means to chase our dreams and our destiny because, when you're stuck into a negative mindset and you have a negative opinion of yourself, you don't even think you have a dream or a destiny. You don't think you have that. So you can't even abstractly think about what your dreams or destiny are because you've been framed in a box where you're nothing and this is all you are and this is all you can do. And a lot of us in our community are really still stuck there. And all of these psyops, whether of any area of activity that they're bringing it forth in, are all detrimental to us. And that's why we're doing this show, you guys, so we can show you these things, so we can tell you, listen, this is what this is. Now, that's up to you if you want to continue to keep going down that road. But you always have a choice. Everything we do in this realm, we have a choice. So we can either choose the right thing or we can choose the wrong thing. So it's all about having that knowledge and that information about these things so we can just make the best choices that come to us as we go along through our day. And the last thing that I wanted to say is we were going to talk a little bit about the history of it, right? And how really all of this kind of controlling the masses with entertainment is born out of Rome. It's born out of the Roman Empire, back when they were doing the gladiator games.
Yep,
A
the
lot
greater
of that
circus.
was, yeah, a lot of that was meant to keep us distracted. So I just wanted to touch on that because in case Portia wanted to go a little bit deeper into that. But all they did was take those gladiator games and they modernized it, packaged it up, and put it out to us in a nice, movie film. And also with the sports, it's also like we said across all areas of activity. So the sports, entertainment, and all that go along with that.
Yeah, yeah, and like you're saying, it's just a big distraction to keep you off your purpose and your path and your mission here on this earth. And a lot of the Black history, the positive history, because back in the early days when that Birth of a Nation movie came out, there was Black wealth, right? There was Black Wall
Mhm.
Street. You had Black-owned banks. You had Black wealthy neighborhoods, but all that had been eroded by white people. I mean, let's just keep it a buck. I mean, you look at any history whenever we had our own thing, they came and took it, or they tried to destroy it because they never wanted to see us have anything more than what they ever could ever have. And so we need to really go back into our history to regain that knowledge that we are kings and queens and we do come from wealth, right? Don't matter what the history books tell you because history is his story. And we need to get back to that and our sovereign wealth. And that's what we're trying to feed you today and in this message and also on this channel that we're all about sovereignty, right? We're trying to live outside of the system. And so you need to identify what aspects of this system is no longer working for you and be more sovereign. And we know that the system never had a place for colored people, right? At the end of the day, melanated, it doesn't matter if you're black or if you're Chinese, if you're Mexican, right? Any person of color, that group has some extent here in America has suffered at some form of abuse, right, by the government. I'm sorry. I mean,
Mhm.
I just don't know any group of colored people here in America that has not, right? Had no system of oppression against them. Now, at the end of the day, we are trying to coalesce so we can build our people up and help you identify these pitfalls because these celebrities will definitely lead you off a cliff, right? Have you buying things that you don't need, right? Spending money that
Mhm.
you could be building on your family wealth, money that you could be spending on well, I mean, on real estate and stocks, right? Getting off of welfare, building resources for your family, learning about Bitcoin, learning about AI, right? Instead of watching TV. Because if you think
Right.
about it, when you watch TV, you're watching other people work, right? So while you sitting there watching them work, what are you doing? So at the end of the day, the whole reason why we created this show is to show you that while you over here watching them, you're missing out on opportunities to build yourself up.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep, yep. I mean, you said the word programming. Programming, they call it programming because they're programming your mind. And just as an aside, we talked about the government being in cahoots with the media. Birth of a Nation, they screened it in the White House. Woodrow Wilson had his family in there. They had the popcorn, they had the pop and the beverages. They was kicking back, enjoying Birth of a Nation. Then they put it in the newspaper like, hey, President Wilson was watching Birth of the Nation in the White House, the first ever movie to be screened in the White House. The
Right?
first movie in the White House. So no people opened that newspaper the next day. It was like, hey, we gotta go to the picture show and catch that. But well said, ladies, on both of those points to to bring it back home. And then just with the evolution, we also got to keep in mind our intentions, because we think we're sometimes we have these noble intentions, but they end up doing more harm than good when it comes to the media and when it comes to the movies, because we in recent years, probably within the last 5 to 10 years, we saw the reemergence of the slave narratives, the slave movies. And
Mhm.
so and then oftentimes our defense or our justification for creating these films or teaching about slavery or doubling down on it is that we need to know this history. Our children need to know about this history, but sometimes that ends up doing more harm than good when it's not balanced out with the rest of our history and our history that comes before that, and the history that comes after that too. So I just wanted to add that in before we close out our solutions, our the solutions for going forward, to give the people something to take with them, something actionable that they can put in place from this conversation.
Well, one of the things is before you watch something, is this feeding my mind? Is this feeding my soul? Is this providing me with information that I can use in order to build my wealth, increase my health, right? And if it doesn't fit that category, then you need to question yourself as to why you even looking at it. Or maybe limit your mindless entertainment to so many hours within a week and not every day. That doom scrolling on social media, going through these reality shows that have no substance, and then redirecting that energy into more educational programming that's going to get you to the next level, or maybe a course or a class that's going to help you in your business that you're trying to build, or help you build a new future for you and your family. Maybe you need to learn about Bitcoin and start building that wealth. I mean, there's so many different things that you could be plugging yourself into that's going to be more of a resource for you and your family versus watching Love and Hip Hop. I'm sorry, there's just no substance in that. There's nothing you can gain from it other than more drama, more grief. And then you got to think about the energetic effect that that's having on you. Because people don't think about the energy that's being transmitted when you're watching those shows, that negative energy that's impacting you. And just like what Malinda was saying about, women with the music, and we were talking about being pregnant. Well, if you think about it, was that Dr. Mikimoto did that experiment with water where he had certain vibration and the water froze. It was different ugly shape. Think about the vibrational energy that that negative music has on you and your cellular structure, and more so your kids. And that's why they're having these type of behavioral issues, because it's stemming from the vibrations and the energy that they receive from the music that has a negative impact on them. So we need to think a little bit more than just what's on the surface and look how these things are impacting us. Just like the other day, I found out that my Wi-Fi router was spying on me. I'm like, well, how's that? Well, the router sends out signals ever so often, so it can tell when it's bouncing off of you, and it can detect when you're in there, where you are around your house. Right? You didn't even know your router was even spying on you, and that's what I'm saying, y'all. We need to be more aware of what's going on, and the only way we can do that is be more educated and plug more into that kind of information.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have a couple short points to make before we close it out, and I'm going to put some solutions up on the banner for us, for the
Hmm.
family, so they can see those. But what I want to say is, first of all, we really do need to use critical thinking skills. This is one thing that I really kind of push on our people, to
Hmm.
make sure that you are using your brain computer. Use your brain and the thinking skills that you are naturally born with to really look at the things that are in front of you. What I'm going to tell you right now is anything that you see the media or the government pushing is not good for you. It's either a lie or it's not good for you. So those are the two options. If the media and the government are pushing it, those are the two options. So now what your job is to use your discernment, which is another D word. That's a part of the other seven, some other D's, right? Use your discernment now to say, okay, if they're pushing this hard, there must be something wrong with it. So now let's look. What does the media push? All the sports, all the ratchet music, the ratchet stereotypes. It always has showing, Black Americans or Black melanated people in movies as the help, or as subservient, or as criminals. So if you continue to see, and we've known this, guys, we've seen entertainment, we've all been live. There's not really one that's putting us in a good light that way. So when you see that the masses are pushing something, and that it's being pushed on a mass level by the media or the government, that to me is my first clue to take a deeper look at it, to say, okay, what is really going on with this? And let me look at the message underneath, what I should be paying attention to. Because if they're pushing it on me, I know it's a lie. We've been here all this time. We know that they've lied about our history. The reason why they're continuing to push those slave narratives and push some of the narratives that they push is because they don't want us to know the truth. So they feel like
Right.
if they push this narrative in front of us, they already think we're stupid anyway. So in their mind, they're like, well, we'll push this narrative in front of these dummies and they'll believe it and they'll run with that. And then, get us caught up in the cycle of that, instead of having us to really dig deeper and look within ourselves and do the research and do the work ourselves to really see, well, what was our history? Because then when you start looking at what our history was, you start to see all the lies that they told, and all of
Yep.
that. Everything that we've been told about our history is a lie, all of it. not just the slave trade, not just they brought us on the ship, not just that. It's all of it. The whole thing is a lie, so they can continue to do what they're doing on this land. Okay, so this is what I want people to know. If you see them pushing it globally and on a mass scale, you need to be questioning that. You need to be questioning it. And like Nick said, for them to look at the history. This is another thing we do. You have to follow the logic, people. Our people, we love to lead with our emotions, and we love to lead emotionally and not think and use logic. Okay, all you got to do is look back and use your logic about what do they show us? What do they show us how they feel about us?
Mhm.
So once you start seeing that, then you start seeing, oh, there's a problem with the way they think about us, because that's not how we are. That's not how we are. But a lot of us are like that now because it's been forced on us so hard. And we've been going through so many deplorable conditions that we kind of just fell down to that. And every class of society has a lowbrow class, and every has your middle and their high. What they choose to do is put our lowbrow on Front Street. And that's what they push to the masses. And that's what got everybody thinking globally that we're a bunch of ignorant people, when we know that not to be true. Like you said, there was wealthy people at the time of that Birth of a Nation coming out.
Yeah.
Black Wall Street was coming up, and they were putting their money together, and they were
Harlem.
building it during that time. They were
Yeah.
building that during that time. So we do know that, it's not all everything that they set it out to be. And that's why I want you to know, when you are seeing these things, you need to think to yourself, okay, there's something wrong. There should be a trigger that goes off to say, they're pushing this a little too hard. Because when have they ever cared about us? Didn't Michael Jackson tell us they didn't really care about us? When have they ever cared about us? So you think they're going to care about us now and say, oh, let's give them this now, and because we care about them? No, they still don't care about us. They still don't want us here. And they're still doing things to create that reality. So we have to be, we got to stand up and be bigger than that and be smarter than that, and say, hey, this is something wrong with this. There's something wrong with this picture. But that's what I wanted to add to it. And I can put the solutions up on the screen now if we want. And I just kind of put them all on here together. So, Portia, do you want to like read through them, or
Oh, yeah. So this is
I'll
our
say something?
solutions for this episode. Stay aware, right? Critical thinking is going to be your best friend. And that's something that's not taught in schools for a reason, right? You need to think beyond what you're seeing. You have to put the rest of it back up.
Sorry, I
And then,
know.
of course,
Getting it.
unplug from media. Don't listen to the media. Basically, the media is not your friend. They're here to further the propaganda and whatever narrative that they're supposed to be pushing for their oligarchs that are controlling them. As a matter of fact, most media outlets are only owned by two or three different companies, right? So take that for what it's worth. So that means that you need to redirect that attention you were putting out there back on yourself, right? You need to focus on you, what you can control and what you can do today to put you and your family in a better position than what you were yesterday. And again, celebrities are only entertainment. Don't get up so involved and ingrained in their lives and what they got going on, who they're dating, who they're breaking up with, and who they're sleeping with, right? That really has nothing to do with anything. Is that putting food on your table? Is that putting clothes on your back? Is that putting any money in your pocket? No, it's not. All you're doing is perpetuating the propaganda that they want you to keep pushing, so you can just stay distracted and keep off your destiny. And see, this is all this is about, because they know that this is the spiritual warfare. And no, it's not one that's overtly done, it's covertly done. Why? Because the agenda is to make it seem like there's no agenda at all, right? Isn't that what the devil is? The devil is there to make you seem like he's not there at all, but he's working. And I don't mean that as a physical person. I'm not religious in any kind of way. But when I say devil, I mean those negative aspects and quality and forces that work against you that you play into. And that could be bad habits. That could be the people that you're hanging with. That could be the activities that you're doing, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you need to look at what you're doing to see if that is benefiting you in any kind of way, right? Because we all have vices. We all have things that we probably could cut out that will actually benefit us. And so, what we're here on this show to do is not only talk about these topics, but actually give you some actionable steps. So I hope what we presented actually gave you some aha moments, right? Because we're here to drop jewels, right? We want you to be rich in mind, right, and also in spirit. And the reason why that is because so many of us are mentally impoverished, right? And we need to fix that.
Mhm.
I
Yes, yes.
love that. Mentally impoverished. That's a great line.
Yes, yes, yes. Remember, yeah, remember that with this entertainment, keeping it as entertainment. Entertainment is not real. A lot of it is not real. Like who knows? Like it could be very possible that these celebrities have contracts written out saying, all right, I'm gonna say this about you on Instagram, and then you're gonna respond back. like all this could be
Like a full
orchestrated.
script,
Yeah,
fully
like a full
scripted,
script.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if that's going on. So I.
That does go on though, Nick, because you think about it, back in the day, they used to pair them up. So you like they're dating, like Justin and Britney, they would pair them up, right? And like they were cute teeny boppers and they were dating, and everybody's, oh, Britney and Justin are dating, and da
Mhm.
da 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 da. So they would do those kind of things. They would do, photo opportunities and stage these celebrities together, or fake a fight, like you're saying, so they can make
Mhm.
money, right? Because in that how it works, like those boxers, like you would think they'd be going at each other, but then in the end, they're like friends and they be kicking and stuff. You're like, wait a minute, I thought you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's happening with the musicians, with the actors
The
and the
presidents.
influencers. Yeah, the
Yeah, because
politicians.
remember, we just saw Barack Obama and Donald Trump sitting together at somebody's funeral. I think it was Jimmy
Yep.
Carter's funeral. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought they didn't like each other.
Exactly. So don't fall for those illusions. And in our pilot episode, we talked a lot about the importance of community and unity and moving as a unit. But remember, keep in mind that you can move as a unit for the positive, or you can move as a unit for the negative. And that goes back to how they harness the energy. When we talk about, you mentioned the energy that they siphon off of us when we are collectively giving our energy and attention to something that gives them even more power. Think about the
Hmm.
design of the stadium at a sporting
Yeah.
event. All of that energy, or a concert, all of that energy being harnessed at one time. So just be
Hmm.
mindful of all of these things as you're moving as one, moving as a unit. So that's what I'm closing out with. I'm Nick, Supreme Numerics, using the practical application and study of numerology to activate your personal power and abundance. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode. And I'm out. Y'all got the last word.
I'll go next and then Portia can close us out. So yeah, I think everything that we all said is very valid. I think, that the government is working with Hollywood to make these stereotypical films, to put out different celebrity psyops, to do all of this stuff, to really desensitize us to a level where when things happen, it's, something tragic could happen, and a lot of us are like going on about our day like it never happened, because we've been desensitized so much to a level in this country where, that's where they want us. They have us right where they want us. So it's up to us to wake up, right? We got to wake up to our dreams and our destiny so we can make those dollars, so we can be independent of this matrix, right? And really get ourselves back in line with what our souls came to earth to do, because we surely didn't come to earth just to watch celebrity psyops and be fooled by the government and be treated like subclass citizens by the government for all of human history that we can recall of being here on this land with these people, right? So it's just something that we really do need to pay attention to. It's very real. And, again, anything being pushed massively is not good for you. Okay. Nothing that they've ever pushed in a mass way has been good for us. You can look through the logic and look through the history of the world, of the country. It's never been good. Okay. They have one bottom line, and that's their pockets, and that's lining their pockets. And the more of us that they can subjugate, and the more of us that they can kind of, get that energy off, what they call that energy, that loose energy, because that builds them up. That builds them up. So we need to keep our energy and our focus on us, on our dreams, our destiny, so we can make those dollars. And of course, I am the queen bee, you know what I mean? Coming at you straight from Numeralytics. And I'm just happy to be here with my colleagues. Really appreciate both of you guys. I think this has been a great episode, and I'm really looking forward to episode 3 myself. So I'm going to close out with that.
Well, you said it perfectly, Queen. As far as like that celebrity sides keeping people off their goal and their dreams, and this is not a theory. This has actually become a business model, right? This is a business model. How they utilize these celebrities as human assets, and they get people to love that person or that program, and they get you to buy into that, right? They want you to buy into it, not only with your dollars, but also with your mind. And so you have to ask yourself, are you being fed to the wolves when something like this happens? And try to divert yourself from those type of distractions, because as long as you have your eyes closed, they'll continue to deceive you every time. So remember, the goal of this channel is your destiny, right? And we really care about where you're going, and you can't reach your destiny if you are being distracted by the propaganda and everything that's being perpetuated on a daily basis, right? Whether it's through social media, the movies, music, what have you. So whenever you have your favorite celebrity pushing some type of narrative, then you need to step back and really ask yourself, is this the kind of person that you want to follow? And also, who paid for that microphone that they're speaking on, right? Because whoever paid for that microphone is the person that paid them to say whatever it is that's coming out of their mouth.
That's
So
right.
chasing their dreams and start funding yours, right? Stop giving your money, your time, and your energy over to that, and start funding your dreams, right? And the destiny that you are led to be on in this life. So open your eyes and also hit that like button, also subscribe and share this channel and this show with someone who could benefit from this message as well. And again, we are here every Monday. You can catch us at 7 p.m. We drop a new video. And so please stay tuned for the next episode. And we will see you again on Dreams, Dollars, and Destiny. Stay conscious. I don't like saying woke, so stay conscious until then. We'll see you in the next one.
Kings and queens up.